Hi, it's Katrina. Greetings, space enthusiasts. Get ready to look up in terror because there are so many things flying through space straight at our planet. You would think Earth is in the center of a cosmic shooting range. Some are just big rocks. Some appear to be ancient alien spycraft. Don't panic yet, but it's always good to know what's out there and what's heading our way.
Oumuamua, Return of the Alien Spycraft.
October 2017, the invasion began. Not with fleets or fire, but with a single silent messenger from the interstellar deep, Oumuamua. The mysterious cigar-shaped object appeared on a collision course with our cozy little solar system and sent scientists into a frenzy.
Remember that? Astronomers went nuts when the galactic rando drifted into our solar system, waved, and then yeeted itself out at 85,700 miles per hour. Scientists called it a visitor, but the truth is they weren't sure what it was. Some said space rock, others said alien probe.
Nobody knows. Seriously, the thing didn't even stick around long enough for a proper photo. By the time scientists realized it was an interstellar object, meaning it came from beyond the Milky Way, it was already halfway out of our solar system, like it forgot its X lived here.
That's not the only weird part about it either. Oumuamua didn't behave like your average space rock. It sped up after flying past the sun like someone put all the power into the thrusters. Most comets shoot out gas and dust, showing off like a glitter canyon. But this so-called rock displayed no evidence of being a comet. It was just zooming by like it had somewhere important to be, like it left the Avedon back home in Alpha Centauri.
But is this really the last we'll see of Oumuamua? There's a possibility it's coming back for round 2. Let me introduce you to Avi Loeb, Harvard astrophysicist and professional alien enthusiast, who looked at this weird rock and declared, "It's a spaceship."
Avi Loeb argued that the object behaved like a piece of alien technology, possibly a vehicle powered by a theoretical technology called a solar sail. A solar sail could presumably suck energy from stars to power a spaceship indefinitely. Avi even suggested it could be a fragment of a Dyson sphere, a hypothetical megastructure built to collect energy from a star like a sci-fi solar panel. Avi said one may have exploded, sending this chunk of debris all the way to Earth, or at least close to Earth.
Meanwhile, other scientists like Karen Meach at the University of Hawaii were like, chill everybody, it's probably a weird comet. Let's not slap made by aliens on everything we don't understand, okay? Okay, Karen.
Remember, this was in 2017, and now the object is far away. But that hasn't stopped several groups of scientists from trying to figure out a way to catch up with it and study it. There are a variety of proposals on the table right now to rendezvous with Oumuamua in the next few decades. Or, if that proves impossible, they have plans to intercept the next interstellar object that makes a close call with home. One proposed mission is Project Lyra. A team of engineers, astronomers, and a few caffeine-fueled space nerds came up with flight plans that could reach Oumuamua in 22 to 31 years. All they need is precise timing, next-gen propulsion, and for nothing to explode, and millions and millions of dollars in funding. So let's see how that goes. The ability to detect and study future interstellar visitors early is crucial, and the upcoming Vera C. Rubin Observatory will play a key role in this endeavor. This beast of a telescope, 3,200 megapixels of pure sky-stalking energy, is almost online and will scan the entire southern hemisphere every few nights. It's expected to spot dozens of Oumuamua-style weirdos every year.
Anyway, scientists better hurry up. NASA said we are going to be obliterated by an asteroid in 2032, so I guess it's time to update planet Earth's will.
The asteroid of the apocalypse.
How big does an asteroid need to be to wipe out everyone on Earth? Any guesses? In 2032, an asteroid about the size of a soccer field could crash right into us. And even though it's only 300 feet wide, it could usher in the age of the apocalypse.
I hope your schedule is clear because NASA just RSVP'd you to a gate-crashing Earth event at 2 p.m. Universal Time on December 22nd, 2032. Right before Christmas, a mysterious rock is plotting to hit us. Because why not throw the end of the world into the mix with holiday shopping and awkward family dinners?
And no, you can't avoid this event. It's going to be global.
First spotted on December 27, 2024, this floating nugget of doom has a 1.2% chance of turning Earth into its personal piñata. Small chance, sure, but it's still higher than your odds of finding a parking spot at Costco on a Saturday. Now, before you panic buy a bunker and 4,000 cans of beans, let's keep things in perspective. Experts say it's more likely to swan dive into the ocean than land in your backyard, but only because your backyard is small and the ocean is huge, so the odds are in your favor.
Still, if it does hit land, it will cause a blast roughly 1,000 times stronger than the nuclear bomb that blew up Hiroshima. So yeah, maybe keep your weekend flexible.
Jonathan O'Callaghan, award-winning science journalist, said this asteroid could pack the punch of a city-evaporating nuclear bomb, while physicist Shyam Balaji from King's College London said if it hits a populated area, the destruction would be massive. It could be similar to the 1908 Tunguska event in Russia. An asteroid didn't hit the surface, but rather exploded in the air and flattened 500,000 acres of forest. Imagine that, but instead of trees, it's Starbucks and apartment complexes.
Even if this thing explodes in the atmosphere like in 1908, it will be devastating. There is no scenario in which this thing enters our orbit and doesn't do some serious damage.
So, how scared should you be? NASA slapped this space menace with a 3 on the Torino scale, which sounds like a ski slope rating, but is actually an asteroid danger meter. It goes from 0, which is chill out and have a Mai Tai, to 10, which is tuck your head between your legs and pray for a swift end.
The only good news is that most asteroids that start out sketchy end up being no big deal once astronomers stare at them long enough through their telescopes. The closer these dangerous rocks get to Earth, the more unlikely the whole apocalypse situation becomes. We just won't know until 2032. Mark your calendars, my friends. And now for a quick break, because it's shout-out time. I want to give a big thank you to Mike Weber and Christy Gibson-Cormer for supporting this channel. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already to join the Origins Explained family.
Asteroid mining gone wrong.
You know how in sci-fi movies there are always people mining asteroids? It is big business in the sci-fi universe. But when do you think humans in real life start sending mining expeditions to suck up minerals from space rocks? Could it take another 100 years, maybe 500 years? Or is it happening right now?
While everyone has been busy focusing on politics these last few months, scientists have been breaking ground in space. A starry-eyed space startup company named Astroforge sent a washing machine-sized spacecraft named Odin into the void. Its job was to scout space rocks like a real estate agent eyeing a fixer-upper in deep space. In March, Astroforge launched what it called the first ever commercial deep space mission. The goal was to cruise out millions of miles and inspect an asteroid that could, if the stars aligned, be full of precious metals. The spacecraft hitched a ride on a SpaceX rocket alongside another lander headed for the moon. Odin, packed with instruments and ambition, was ready to roll. It was going to make contact with a space rock that would, hopefully on the next mission, be mined by autonomous robots.
Yeah, the future is now. We are entering science fiction territory in real life. This is crazy. Only things didn't go as well as they should have.
Within hours of launch, Astroforge realized something was off. They couldn't talk to Odin. No data, no response. The probe was totally silent. Founder Matt Gialich posted an update that basically said, we're really trying, but Odin isn't texting back and we're starting to worry.
Turns out Odin's antennas were misaligned. The polarization was wrong, and the spaceship was essentially yelling into the void while Earth was listening on a totally different channel. To make things worse, the spacecraft might be tumbling slowly, like a drunk uncle at a wedding trying to find his seat again.
The last signal from Odin came 20 hours after liftoff. It's currently over 186,000 miles away, and the team has no way of communicating with it. The whole operation is a bust. But to their credit, Astroforge is already planning their next mission, codenamed Vestri. The scientific team is hell-bent on reaching an asteroid and kicking off the asteroid mining business. It's the sci-fi dream. Harvest platinum, gold, and other rare earth metals using robots, and then bring the goodies back to Earth.
The market potential is in the trillions, maybe even the bajillions. Companies have tried and failed at this for years, but Astroforge is out there doing its best. Instead of asteroids hitting Earth and blowing us up, miners could drain them of their gold and then kick them off back into space. Do you think asteroid mining could be the next boom, like the next industrial revolution?
Earth's million-mile text message.
Somewhere between Mars and Jupiter in the vast yawning expanse of space, a robotic spacecraft named Psyche just pulled off the impossible. It picked up a message from 10 million miles away. The message came from Earth, but it was no typical text. It was a laser message.
For those of you not up to date on your cosmic distances, 10 million miles is about 40 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. It's really far away. Even so, the robotic spacecraft managed to pick up a message from scientists on Earth.
Okay, I can't even get cell service in the mountains, but NASA can send texts 40 times farther than the Moon? What the heck is going on with our cell phone providers? Get a grip, AT&T and Verizon.
The science here is really exciting. This wasn't a flashy light show to impress the aliens. It was a crucial demo from NASA's Deep Space Optical Communications System, a sort of intergalactic Wi-Fi. For decades, NASA has been using radio waves to chat with their spacecraft, but it's slower than molasses on a January morning. It's kind of like trying to stream Netflix using dial-up. Functional, but very 1997.
So NASA decided to level up their comm skills. Now they are using infrared lasers to send messages across deep space, like a giant interplanetary laser pointer that speaks Morse code.
And in November of 2023, it worked. The Psyche spacecraft not only picked up the laser message from Earth, but it sent a laser back to make contact with Earth via the Hale telescope at Palomar Observatory in California. The experiment was a huge success. But why lasers? I'm glad you asked. Lasers, specifically near-infrared ones, offer more bandwidth, faster data speeds, and a beam that stays tighter as it stretches into space. They are harder to intercept, more energy efficient, and can send high-definition video from Mars to Earth. This is a huge leap toward NASA's ultimate goal of world domination. Kidding. Their goal is to let astronauts on Mars live stream their spacewalks with less lag than your last Zoom call. Astronauts on Mars are about to have a better internet connection than most people on Earth.
Trudy Cortes, Director of Technology Demonstrations at NASA, said this milestone is paving the way for streaming video in support of humanity's next giant leap. It's going to be hard to discredit the 1969 moon landing once astronauts are live streaming TikTok dances from the red planet's surface.
The day contact is made.
You've seen the movies. Aliens land on Earth and the US military blows them up, kicking off a war humans can't possibly win. But what would really happen if aliens contacted Earth? I have this step-by-step play for you straight from the mouth of a former NASA expert.
Sylvester Kazmarek recently broke down the course of events after aliens made the first move by saying hi. It's way less Independence Day and way more group chat panic between scientists and politicians. On day one, right after aliens sent the first sup to humans, scientists would be going crazy double-checking all their instruments. The first thought would be that it wasn't aliens, but something like a passing satellite, some rogue radio static, or someone reheating a burrito in the observatory's kitchen.
The burrito thing actually happened, so that's why they always double-check.
If the FAST telescope in China, the VLA in New Mexico, or the Parkes telescope in Australia picks up a signal that looks extraterrestrial, they'll spend weeks to months checking and double-checking that it's not just a badly timed hot pocket. Kazmarek says the signal would need to show multiple layers of confirmation and do weird things that no natural or human-made source can do, like communicate coherently or not sound like a dying fax machine.
Once the signal gets the green light and isn't just the world's most expensive prank call, it's go time.
Kazmarek says space agencies, militaries, and politicians would all jump in immediately. There would be press releases, hushed briefings, 24/7 news panic, and the UN might try to step in and handle it. But the diplomatic chaos would be too overwhelming. Once the world knows that aliens have made contact, scientists would scramble to protect the signal frequency. The UN would try to agree on something to say back to the aliens, but because so many nations have their own space programs, everyone would be bombarding them with their own texts. Every Dale Gribble would be in their basement trying to send their own messages to the aliens. It would be nuts.
In official rooms, governments and scientists would need to figure out what the signal says, where it came from, if we should even respond, and if yes, what we should say. What would you reply to an alien message? SETI senior astronomer Seth Shostak has a bet riding on when aliens will contact Earth. He's confident that our amazing little planet will hear from intelligent aliens by 2036. Not because of blind hope, but because our telescopes and computers are getting better. Seth is an astronomer genius, and he's seen the way technology is improving. If he thinks we'll have the tech to text aliens in 10 years, you might want to believe him. The God of Chaos Asteroid. Mark your calendars for Friday the 13th, April 2029. Mark them and get your backyard telescope out of the garage. On that day, after Jason goes back to sleep in Crystal Lake, a monster of an asteroid will brush past Earth like a nosy neighbor getting a little too close to your hedges. Not to worry though, NASA and the European Space Agency triple-checked and said it won't hit us, probably. It most likely will narrowly avoid us. But hey, scientists have been wrong before. And anyway, if they knew we were about to be demolished, they probably wouldn't tell us. You know, panic and all that. The asteroid has the coolest name of any asteroid ever. I'm so bored with scientists naming things in space like B41.1 or something. This time, they went all in and named the space rock Apophis after a giant mythical death snake. Apophis is the ancient Egyptian god of chaos and destruction. That's a name I can get behind. Even cooler is that the European Space Agency is planning to send a spacecraft called Ramses, as in the Egyptian pharaoh, to rendezvous with Apophis. The Ramses mission is now in development. If all goes well, and let's hope it does, Ramses will launch and rendezvous with Apophis 2 months before its flyby or impact in 2029. Its job is to tail the asteroid, take notes, and report back like a very anxious hall monitor. Now, let's say the scientists are wrong and Apophis does hit Earth. It would be disastrous. You know how scientists are always comparing impacts to nuclear bombs? Well, Apophis would release the energy of about 100 nukes all at once. It would destroy everything for hundreds of miles and permanently ruin everyone's weekend. NASA says it's going to miss us by about 19,794 miles. That's just 1/12 of the distance to the moon. But in space terms, that's an uncomfortably close shave. Apophis will be so close to hitting us that you'll be able to see it with your naked eye. Wow, that's both cool and horrifying at the same time, like seeing a crocodile in your swimming pool. Are you scared yet? Target: Moon. Remember a few months back when asteroid 2024 YR4 buzzed pretty close to Earth? Well, it looks like this space rock isn't quite done with its cosmic tour just yet. Scientists are now tracking it again, and this time it's headed in the general direction of our good old moon. Now, when it zipped past Earth, there was a small chance, around 3.1%, of a collision. That might not sound like much, but when you're talking about a skyscraper-sized chunk of rock hurtling through space, even those small odds get astronomers' attention. This time around, the numbers have shifted a little. There is now about a 3.8% chance that 2024 YR4 might actually bump into the moon. Yeah, the moon. Our poetic, cheese-filled nightlight. NASA's been keeping an eye on this, and they've pointed out that there is still a pretty high chance, 96.2%, that it will miss the moon entirely, which, is good news. Just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, the James Webb Telescope actually managed to get a good look at this asteroid. Turns out it's over 210 feet tall. That's roughly the size of a 15-story building, or about 5 T-Rexes stacked in a trench coat. And get this, it's the smallest thing that the Webb Telescope has ever spotted. Pretty wild, huh? Now, if it does hit the moon, what happens? Well, it would definitely leave a mark, probably a new crater. It would also kick up a bunch of dust and rocky bits. You might have heard some pretty dramatic stuff about an asteroid hitting the moon and sending it crashing into Earth, but that's really not how things work in space. The moon is held in its orbit by Earth's gravity, and it's incredibly massive. A hit from an asteroid this size just wouldn't have enough oomph to knock it off course like that. Think of it this way. The moon is like a giant bowling ball, and this asteroid is more like a pebble. If you throw a pebble at a bowling ball, it might scratch it, but it's not going to send the bowling ball flying across the room. The moon is way, way bigger than the asteroid that's thought to have wiped out the dinosaurs, like 290 times more massive.
so the idea of it suddenly falling out of the sky, not really a concern. So while scientists are keeping an eye on 2024's YR4's lunar rendezvous, it's more of an interesting astronomical event than a doomsday scenario for us here on Earth. They'll keep tracking it and refining their predictions as it gets closer. It's all part of understanding the neighborhood we live in out here in space. The Valentine's Day disaster. What happens when love meets a giant space rock? Total annihilation. On Valentine's Day, as you clutch a heart-shaped box of chocolates and your date stares distractedly at their phone, kablam! A 150-foot wide asteroid crashes your dinner plans like the universe's worst third wheel. This could be your future. It could be you on Valentine's Day 2046. If the 2032 asteroid doesn't get us, asteroid 2023 DW just might. Scientists at NASA and the European Space Agency have been monitoring this asteroid. It's even number 1 right now on the list of potential risks to our planet. The odds of 2023 DW hitting Earth are about 1 in 607, according to the ESA. It doesn't seem good, but it also could be worse, I guess. Scientists estimate the asteroid is roughly the size of an Olympic swimming pool, so it will pack quite a punch. But it won't send us back to the Stone Age, and if it misses completely, don't worry, it will try again. This stubborn asteroid is expected to circle back to ruin future Valentine's Days in 2047, 48, 49, 50, and 51. That's a lot of tries to hit Earth. You don't even get that many tries at ring toss at the carnival. This hulking rock is like your ex who never learned how to let go. It's going to come back and back, knocking on Earth's door until it finally hits it. Hypothetically, if this thing did land, where would it go? Astronomer Piero Ciccoli mapped out some possible impact zones based on current data. The rock could hit anywhere from the Indian Ocean to just off the US East Coast. This means pretty much everyone is safe except for Florida. Just kidding. Pretty much no one is safe. Planet Nibiru, the ender of worlds. It would be one thing for our world to be destroyed by a rogue asteroid, but what if we were blown to bits by a planet that isn't even supposed to exist? In 2017, the mysterious planet Nibiru was supposed to smash into Earth and kill everybody on September 23rd, but it didn't. Now conspiracy theorists and internet doomsday prophets are saying it's coming back. They don't know when, but they say it will cause the apocalypse. But according to scientists, Nibiru isn't even real. Let me go back a bit. Nibiru, aka Planet X, first wandered into human imagination in 1976, when author Zecharia Sitchin self-published The 12th Planet. It's a book based on his very personal translation of ancient Sumerian texts. Zecharia claimed that Nibiru orbits the sun every 3,600 years and is home to a race of ancient aliens called the Anunnaki. I'm sure you've heard of them. A less famous believer in Nibiru is Nancy Leiter, a self-declared psychic. Nancy said aliens had warned her that Nibiru would crash into Earth in 2003. When that didn't happen, the date was bumped to 2012 and linked to the end of the Maya calendar, which many believe has connections to the Anunnaki. But then, nothing happened. Nibiru made no appearance, and the world is still turning. NASA has had to deny Nibiru's existence many times. In 2012, NASA said, "If Nibiru were real and heading for Earth, we'd see it by now. You'd see it with your own eyes, like in the sky. We're not hiding planets behind the moon." Astronomer David Morrison from NASA pointed out that with thousands of professional and amateur astronomers around the world, most of whom aren't on the government payroll, there is no possible way a giant death planet could sneak up on us like a cosmic ninja. If Nibiru were real, it would be brighter than Mars in the night sky and all over Instagram by now. But nothing NASA can say will ever dispel the myth of Nibiru or the Anunnaki. In 2017, Christian numerologist David Meade claimed Nibiru would hit Earth on September 23rd. When that didn't pan out, he said, "The world as we know it is ending," but he couldn't come up with another date. To be fair, there is a real mystery planet floating around out there called Planet 9, and it's been confusing the issue. Scientists like Mike Brown, Konstantin Batygin, and others have been hunting for this hypothetical giant planet out beyond Neptune. It's about 10 times Earth's mass, possibly 600 times farther from the sun than we are, and it's been blamed for weird orbital patterns and other space objects. Conspiracy theorists believe Planet 9 is Planet Nibiru, home of the Anunnaki. But they say the Anunnaki are purposely hiding their planet way beyond where human telescopes can see. They're hiding behind something like Bugs Bunny hiding behind a bush, making them invisible to us. Scientists only know the mystery planet is there because it's altering the orbits of large objects near it. It's there, but no one can see it. It's also too far away to hit Earth like a galactic bowling ball. It's just minding its business in the frigid outer solar system. If it exists, it's millions of miles away and is not a doomsday machine. As you can tell, the whole situation is confusing. Ghost planet? Yes. Ghost planet hits Earth? Not so much. Big Bad Bennu. Heads up, Earthlings! There is a cosmic boulder the size of a small mountain with our planet's name on it. Maybe. Meet Bennu, an asteroid roughly a third of a mile wide, made of loosely packed rubble and floating through space like a cosmic trash ball. And it's thinking about smashing into us. Bennu is such a concern that NASA sent their OSIRIS-REx spacecraft on an interception course to visit in 2018. OSIRIS reached its target in 2020 and did a quick smash and grab. What I mean is that the ship hit the rock, scooped up a bit of dirt, and then hauled that space dust back to Earth. Pretty cool, right? Most people don't realize how many space missions are going on these days. Bennu isn't the most dangerous guy in our neighborhood. Out of all the big rocks I told you about today, Bennu's probability of contacting Earth is on the seriously low side. Scientists give it a 1 in 2,700 chance of slamming into Earth in the year 2182. That is a 0.037% chance. The same odds as finding a working pen when you actually need one. Still, scientists, being scientists, ran simulations anyway to see what the damage would be if those odds increased. You know, just in case Bennu decides to ruin your great-great-grandkid's 10th birthday party. After all, it won't hit us. I won't be alive in 2182, and neither will you, unless we both become cyborgs. Bennu won't possibly hit Earth for another century and a half. If Bennu does hit us, it wouldn't wipe out life completely, but it would mess up the global vibe. It would be less total extinction and more planet-wide existential crisis. Upon impact, Bennu would kick 400 million tons of dust into the atmosphere. This would be like a supervolcano erupting and throwing ash into the atmosphere. It would block out the sun and global temperatures would drop by around 7 degrees Fahrenheit. It doesn't sound like much until your crops die, your power grid shivers to death, and winter overstays its welcome. So the world is dark, cold, and nobody has any food. Bennu's impact would also decrease rainfall by 15%, leading to fewer plants. Earth would turn into a hostile, dusty camping trip where you forgot your food, water, and sunscreen. Every biological creature on the planet would be struggling just to survive. Except, surprisingly, ocean plankton. They might actually do better than ever in the case of an asteroid impact. Because Bennu's asteroid dust is rich in iron, it would be like drowning the plankton in an all-you-can-eat buffet. Scientists predict plankton would bounce back in 6 months and then flourish. This means not all life would vanish on Earth, but a lot of it would. Plankton would survive and facilitate the next wave of evolution. Maybe dinosaurs would make a comeback after a few million years. Humans would very likely be reduced to a few straggling bands of survivors, but our species would probably make it through to the other side. The good news is humanity has over 150 years to get its act together. And honestly, by then, asteroids probably won't be a danger. In 2022, NASA launched DART, a mission where they body-checked an asteroid named Dimorphos to see if they could move it. And they did! NASA changed its orbit by 32 minutes. Now that's a game of cosmic billiards. NASA can already fight off asteroids. In 150 years, Earth will probably have a laser defense system.
Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed.
Earth 2.0. For the first time ever, we may have found a planet just like Earth. The Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite, codenamed TESS, has discovered the first planet ever that's the perfect distance from its star to support life, and is about the same size as Earth. It might even have water. NASA hasn't actually detected liquid water, but the conditions suggest it is a possibility. The planet is being called TOI 700d, and it's one of only a handful of planets the same size as our own within a particular star's habitable zone. The other planets like this that we know about have all been discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope. But TESS is a little bit different. It launched specifically to search for potentially habitable planets just like Earth. It does this by monitoring a large part of the sky known as a sector for 27 days before moving on to the next. This incredibly long stare allows the satellite to track all changes in brightness that would be caused by a planet orbiting its star. As for TOI 700D, it's only about 100 light-years from us, located in the southern constellation Dorado. Its star is about 40% the size and mass of the Sun, and only half its surface temperature. This means it's significantly smaller and colder than our own star. But because of the proximity of Earth 2.0 to this mystery star, the situation is perfect for breeding habitable life. The big problem is that we have no possible way of knowing if any life is thriving. But if the planet has a similar temperature to our own and liquid water, it would be a perfect candidate for our first intergalactic colony. What do you think? Are you ready for it? Let me know in the comments below. Liquid on Titan. On the largest moon of Saturn, Titan, scientists have detected giant canyons flooded with liquid hydrocarbons. The information comes to us thanks to data received from NASA's Cassini spacecraft. The spacecraft took some amazing photographs of very deep canyons on the surface of the moon, which researchers are now confident in saying are dark channels spreading out from the Ligeia Mare Sea, totally filled with liquid. This discovery was the first time that scientists were able to put forth real evidence that Titan has liquid-filled canyons. But of course, this isn't liquid water. For those who don't know, Titan is a frigid and very cold moon, the second biggest in the solar system, with large bodies of liquid methane. The moon is completely crusted over with hydrocarbon ice, and it has lakes and rivers of both liquid methane and ethane. It also has a thick atmosphere that scientists believe is a prime example of what the conditions were like when our solar system was first created. It's true that scientists already knew about Titan's methane seas, but they hadn't known about the canyons. NASA says they believe the canyons may have formed just like the Grand Canyon here on Earth, from thousands and thousands of years of a flowing river carving them out. These canyons are almost 2,000 feet deep in some places, and they are filled to the brim with black liquid methane. Oh yeah, and the surface temperature here is about minus 289 degrees Fahrenheit. Emissions from an alien world. Scientists believe they may have potentially detected radio emissions coming from an alien planet beyond our system for the first time in history. The astronomers behind the detection used a radio telescope in the Netherlands to study a trio of stars that host exoplanets. The researchers noticed that one star system really stood out from all the others, called Tau Boots. The radio signal they picked up was so strong and so polarized that they believe it must have come from a planet's magnetic field. This is according to Jake Turner from Cornell University, the lead author of this new and exciting research. This planet is about 51 light-years from Earth in the constellation Boots. And if you're wondering how an alien planet is able to emit signals that we can pick up here on Earth, it all goes back to Jupiter. These researchers first studied the kinds of emissions that were coming off Jupiter's surface. They then tweaked their measurements to reflect a greater distance from Earth and pointed the radio receiver deeper into the universe. It really all comes down to how powerful a planet's magnetic field is. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to detecting alien planets. Once scientists perfect the art of picking up radio emissions, they'll be able to see planets with magnetic fields very far from us. They'll also be able to tell a lot about the planet's history based on its magnetic field. The hum of plasma waves. As of right now, the Voyager 1 spacecraft is somewhere around 14.1 billion miles from the planet Earth, of course. It's moving at an outstanding speed of 38,000 miles per hour, and not too long ago, it passed across the boundary of our solar system and entered into the true gulf of space. And yet, despite this immense distance, Voyager 1 is still sending information back to us. And yes, it is still making new discoveries. One of these discoveries came to us in the form of a sound. Hearing a sound in space doesn't really make a lot of sense for one main reason. There is no sound in space. Sound cannot flow through an empty vacuum. It needs air to travel, or at least something that can act as a medium for the sound waves to pass through. Scientists believe the sound managed to reach Voyager 1 by traveling through space on invisible gases. The actual sound was the hum of plasma waves moving through space. These plasma waves were created by our very own sun. According to the NASA researchers, a solar wind carried gas billions of miles away from the sun when it expelled a burst of plasma. It was probably the result of a solar storm on the star's surface, when plasma spiked and a small burst of it got shot into space. Over 14 billion miles away, Voyager 1 actually picked up the sound of our sun basically belching. Ice volcanoes. NASA has made yet another outstanding discovery on the dwarf planet Ceres, this time in the form of icy volcanoes. Ceres never did get big enough to become an actual planet, instead getting the less popular title of dwarf planet. But even though this little piece of rock isn't technically a planet, it still has some pretty impressive geological features. Observations from NASA's Dawn spacecraft have shown that the little planet could be harboring cryovolcanoes at the bottom of some of its craters. Now, keep in mind that Ceres is located between Mars and Jupiter. It's a piece of rock mostly covered in ice, and a lot of this ice may actually be building up underground, just like lava builds up under volcanoes here on Earth. The cameras on the Dawn spacecraft showed physical flowing material just like lava at the bottom of the craters, except less viscous and tinged blue. It's the same color as material found at the top of a mountain on Ceres that scientists believe once erupted with a mixture of ice and mud. The theory now is that the flowing material is of a similar mixture inside the craters. It's ice mixed with mud and salt, and scientists say it could be erupting out of the weakest points on the dwarf planet's surface. To make things simple, it's ice volcanoes. Ceres literally has volcanoes erupting out icy mud instead of lava. Which do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. The Mars bug. A scientist from Ohio has made a wild claim that there are insects on Mars. He's based this claim on supposed photographic proof from various NASA Mars rovers throughout the years. His name is William Ramoser, and he isn't actually a crackpot. He is a professor and a specialist in the study of viruses transmitted by arthropods at Ohio University. His evidence is pretty shaky, really only coming from his own interpretation of the photographs, meaning that it can only be considered theory and isn't currently verifiable. He presented his bizarre findings at a national meeting held by the Entomological Society of America. He showed photographs taken from the Mars rovers that seemed to show tiny insects with legs, abdomens, heads, and all the other insect parts. And he claims there is diversity as well, with a lot of different kinds of bugs on the red planet. But according to other scientists, he's completely delusional. Pretty much everybody except him says that he's finding insects where there aren't any. He's looking at rocks and interpreting them as insect fossils. He's doing this in the same way that one might look at a cloud and interpret a dragon. Either that, or he's completely right and everybody else is just trying to cover up the fact that there are indeed insects on Mars. What do you think? Are there really insects on Mars, or is this guy just practicing some wishful thinking? Let me know your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We have lots more videos coming up. Merging black holes. Scientists have discovered a collision between two supermassive black holes. It's one of the most catastrophic and destructive things that scientists have ever seen out in the universe. The pair of supermassive black holes are the nearest ever discovered to our planet. Astronomers say they are currently merging into a single monstrosity of unbelievable proportions. It's happening about 89 million light-years away from us in a galaxy called NGC 7727. Scientists have been measuring the mass of each of the black holes by watching how gravity affects the movement of the nearby stars. Observations with the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope have shown the two giant black holes are only 1,600 light-years away from each other. In cosmic distance, they are basically breathing in each other's faces. This small separation between the black holes suggests that they will merge into one giant, massively supermassive black hole within the next 250 million years. This is what Holger Baumgart says, a professor at the University of Queensland, Australia. And to give you an idea of just how powerful these celestial objects are, the bigger of the two contains the mass of 154 million suns. The smaller one only contains the mass of 6.3 million suns. But still, the power of these celestial bodies is completely insane. They aren't a danger to us, but you definitely wouldn't want to fly your starship anywhere near them. Dark matter stars. There is a possibility that stars composed totally of dark matter once populated the universe. This isn't a true discovery, more of a theory, but one that's quite interesting anyway. Scientists say that when the Big Bang first happened, the universe was much smaller than it is today. In the smaller environment, dark matter came into existence, and it was then that scientists believe that dark stars may have been born. But here's the twist. Dark matter stars wouldn't have actually been dark. Instead, they would have been the biggest and brightest objects in the universe. No one has ever seen one with their eyes. At least no human ever has. But we are currently looking. And if you're a bit confused about dark matter, so is everybody else. Scientists say that at least 26% of the universe is made of dark matter, and that thousands of these particles pass through your body every second. It's just impossible to detect and study because dark matter is intangible. It emits no light, and it only leaves a gravitational fingerprint behind. In the case of dark matter stars, huge collections of this material began to cluster in patches, eventually forming the first stars in the universe right after the Big Bang, kickstarting the formation of normal stars and then galaxies. But as the universe continually expanded, dark stars became irrelevant, died, and probably went extinct. Water worlds. In a shocking new study, researchers are suggesting that there are exoplanets outside our solar system that are completely covered in water. These are water worlds with oceans deeper than anything we have ever seen before. And by deeper than anything, I'm talking hundreds or even thousands of miles or kilometers deep. The study was done by astronomer Li Zhang of Harvard University and his colleagues. Zhang explained that based on his team's computer simulations, Earth's oceans are basically puddles compared to what's lurking out there on planets outside our solar system. For example, the maximum depth of the ocean on Earth is at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, about 6.8 miles. But there are water worlds out there that are 2 or even 4 times larger than Earth with global oceans. These planets likely formed much further away from their host stars than they are today as giant balls of ice. But as they drifted closer to their stars and got warmer, that ice melted and their gravity was increased, causing the surface ice to turn to water and create oceans thousands of miles deep. And where there's water, there is almost always life. Just imagine a planet with an ocean 1,000 times larger than any we have, and the life forms that must be lurking within it. Weird moon substance. Chinese scientists found a weird substance on the far side of the moon. It happened last year, with their Yutu-2 rover stumbling across a curious substance that nobody could immediately identify. At first, the discovery sparked intense interest among lunar scientists because it didn't look like anything seen on the moon before. However, after a year of analyzing what appeared to be some kind of gel, scientists say the substance is actually made up of rock. They used a process called spectral unmixing to see what the most likely composition of the substance was. According to the researchers, the material is dark green. It glistens, and there is a pile of it about 20 inches long. They found the presence of glass, suggesting it was created during an impact event. There was some kind of impact that caused minerals to cement together and form a black, glossy, glass-like material. It never ended up being mysterious space goo like so many people thought at first, just the leftover rock residue of some past event that generated serious heat. It could have been from a space rock crashing into the moon. It could have even potentially been from some kind of ship taking off, with its thruster melting the surface rock into a type of craggy glass. Thanks for watching! What's the craziest thing you think is hiding out in space? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. See you next time! Bye!